This conference will now be recorded.
You're all set, Mayor.
Okay, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on September the 11th, 2020, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, the Upper Township website, the Town Hall foyer, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, and the Herald Times, and it's filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being audio recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. Barbara, do you have your little flag there? Good job. All those, please rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Here.
Mr. Coggins,
Here.
Mr. Porson,
Present.
Mr. Young,
Here.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Here.
All members are present.
All right. Would someone like to approve the minutes from the August 24th regular and closed session minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Okay. Hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Porson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor.
All right. So I think we can proceed on to the reports from some of the governing body members. So Scott, we'll start with you. Do you have anything for us this evening? You there?
His doesn't show that his phone is on.
Well, he has I have Scott Morgan top and bottom on two squares, and one has a green.
I apologize, Mayor. I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I will start just a few things this evening, and good evening. The Cape May County Health Department COVID-19 update. As of today's date, the total positive cases for COVID-19 infection in Cape May County are 1,240, including 90 deaths. Presently, the resident active cases in Upper Township are 13. Community fatalities to date are 3. And total county cases are 134. A piece of information which I thought was worthy of passing along to the committee and to our residents this evening is obviously we are back into the school year and trying to handle that as normally as possible. And the county health department wanted to pass along that parents and guardians are taking on the responsibility of helping their children adjust to the new norm, such as trying to keep children occupied, feeling safe, and attempting to keep up with schoolwork as best as possible. It's important to remember that children look to adults for guidance on how to react to stressful situations such as that are have been active over the past several months with the COVID-19 pandemic. They feel that it's a tremendous opportunity for adults to model for children's problem-solving flexibility and compassion as we all work to adjust through daily schedules, balancing work and other activities. They suggest the following tips that may help. Be a role model. Be aware of how you talk to your children about COVID-19. Explain social distancing. Demonstrate deep breathing. Focus on the positive, establish and maintain a daily routine, and identify projects that might help others. And above all, offer lots of love and affection. The other issue that I'd like to discuss tonight, as we all know, and we've seen it on the news, is our active hurricane season, which runs from June 1st through November 31st. We have an extremely active hurricane season. We have got 5 named tropical systems in the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico. And we're just recommending from an emergency management standpoint that now is the time to prepare. We saw what happened here in our region on August 4th when Tropical Storm Isaias struck our area as a tropical event, which, as we know, spawned a tornado, which is not usual or not unusual for landfalling tropical systems, but very unusual for our region. Now think about how Hurricane Sally, which is getting ready to strike within the next 24 to 36 hours down in the Gulf of Mexico, what type of impact or effect the coastal residents in the Gulf coastal area of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Panhandle of Florida will be experienced over that 24 to 36 hours. And say to yourself, what will we do up in this region if a Category 2 storm would hit May County? So what I offer to you is now is the time to prepare yourself, family members and relatives and friends. Seek information. There is a plethora of information out there on preparing for tropical events on FEMA.gov, and of course our Upper Township website, uppertownship.com. Just look for the emergency management link. And also remember that when preparing and making plans, because we have such a unique hurricane season in that we are still greatly involved in the COVID-19 pandemic health emergency, that you really should make a plan for that as well. Our planning has changed in emergency management, both on a local, county, and state level. Our agencies are following new guidelines relative to COVID-19 and for sheltering. So the recommendation is to develop your own family plan now so that you won't have to rely on a local, county, or state shelter in the future if something should come up the coast. And thank goodness right now we do not have anything that looks like it's coming into our wings, and let's just hope we don't. The last thing I have, Mayor, is I just want to recognize once again the outstanding job our Public Works Department is doing since August 4th with the removal of the brush collection and the debris. Reported to me today was that all township developments have been collected with respect to brush and storm debris. We are still working on areas of Route 9 and a few county roads, which will hopefully be completed by the end of this week. This will be round 1 of our Public Works brush and storm debris collection process. And we hope we will be starting round 2 on or about September 22nd. So we want to thank all the residents for your continued patience and cooperation. And of course, thank you for the kind words that many of you have sent to our clerk's office and my office regarding the outstanding job that Public Works has done. And I just remind everybody to continue to look to our Upper Township website up in the events calendar. It's at the top of the main page. And there's a general account of every day where our Public Works personnel have collected and where they have yet to collect. So that is all I have for you this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Barbara Young, give us an update on the Dropbox and things like that, please.
Yes, I have a couple of things. The first thing is I just wanted to remind everyone about the U.S. Census. The new deadline to file your census application is now September 30th. So if you haven't done that, you could go on and do that. The next thing is, as everyone's aware, the general election will be November 3rd. The November 3rd general election will be mostly vote by mail. The mail-in ballots are expected to be received by all registered active voters by October 10th. So voters that are registered active voters will receive a mail-in ballot. Voters may vote those mail-in ballots, and they may either return them in the postage paid envelope provided through the U.S. Postal Service, or they may return them to one of the secure drop box locations. We will have a secure drop box at the Upper Township Municipal Building. So if you don't want to put your ballot in the mail, you can bring it to Town Hall, or they could take it to the Cape May County Clerk's office, or they can bring it to their polling location on election day, where they may deliver their completed and sealed vote by mail ballot. And again, the registered active voters will receive a mail-in ballot. If you have questions about whether or not you're a registered active voter, feel free to call the clerk's office, the Upper Township Clerk's office. And also, this information is posted, a link to this information is posted on the Upper Township website. So you could go there and, we have a link right there to this information. So, and again, if you have questions, feel free to call the clerk's office. For the ADA voter, ADA voters will be able to vote on an ADA device at the polling location. So, but if you do go there and you don't have your ballot, you will be voting a paper provisional ballot. So either way, it's a paper ballot, whether you vote the ballot that's mailed to you or you vote the paper provisional at the polling location.
Barb, I got a quick question. I read a report today that if you take your mail-in ballot to the polling place, it's going to be counted as a provisional. So it won't get counted for the 2 weeks.
All the ballots are going to be counted. So, if you take your ballot there, your vote's going to be counted. If you vote a provisional ballot at the polling location, your vote's going to be counted. So, I just want to assure everyone that your votes count, and the county clerk and the Board of Elections are working very hard to make sure that everything runs smoothly for this election.
The way I understand it, any provisional ballot could take up to 2 weeks after the election to count.
Well, it is going to take some time to count the votes, and I believe they have until sometime in, I think it's definitely the end of November. I think it's the beginning of December to certify the count. So it is going to take some time. So people, hopefully everyone will have patience, in waiting to get the final results.
The only other thing I would add is that the drop box at the Township Hall will be outside. It'll be a container similar to a mailbox, if not exactly the same, only different color. It will be a secured location. We have security cameras so that nothing can be tampered with. So it's not just during business hours of the municipal hall. You can drop it off at the drop box. It's pretty much 24 hours a day like you would normally be able to do at a mailbox or at a post office with an outdoor mailbox. So
that's correct, and it will be clearly marked. It'll say vote by mail ballot drop here. So, and we will have, once again, we're going to just have the two locations. The locations will be at the Upper Township Community Center and at the Second Cape May Baptist Church in Marmora, just as we did for the primary election.
The county website also has a list of where the boxes are going to be. There's going to be one on 550 at the County Public Works Building. There's going to be one at Ocean City Hall. There's going to be one in Seattle City Hall. And then, of course, you can always drop them off in courthouse, too. So if people's daily travels, they could vary. And you really don't have to go out of your way to find one.
That's correct. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paul, do you have anything for us this evening?
The only thing I would like to report is the township paving project. Committees award, you've awarded the project to Airwac Paving. I did send out notices to all the property owners on the streets that are getting paved to alert them of the upcoming work. And then as we get closer to the contractor working on the individual street, they will give a 48-hour notice at the residents to let them know that the work will be starting in a couple of days. I just wanted to let the committee know that all the notifications have gone out to the residents. There is a list of the streets that we are paving on the township website. So if anybody's interested or curious about which streets are being paved, they can either reach out to me or look at the list on the website. That's all I had for this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Barbara Ludi.
Good evening. I have nothing to report this evening.
Okay. Committeeman Coggins.
Nothing to report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Committeeman Young.
Just a few small items. I had somebody call me today. They made the original complaint about Route 49 with the no passing zone. And I told them I would ask if there's any updates on that, on what the state's going to do. Paul, have you heard anything from them?
No, I haven't. But I'll put that on my list, and I'll give them a call towards the end of the week, and I'll touch base with you and committee on what I found out.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I've also had questions asked if we have any tentative ideas as far as reopening the community center, the senior center, and our indoor facilities. I don't know if there's been any changes from the governor or not, but if anybody knows, we'll take any information you have.
Well, there's still a 25% capacity in place. For the senior center, that's actually the county that makes that call. And at this point, they haven't really given any indication they're ready to open that facility or any of the senior centers throughout the county. Okay. I think when it comes to the community center, that's something that we can talk offline about. But, I have some concerns on trying to stay within that 25% capacity, because we really need to determine what's the maximum amount of folks that can be inside. And that would include potential athletes or whatever. So it really is something that we probably need to cautiously move forward with a discussion prior to just opening it up or anything like that. So.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Craig, at the last meeting we had, we talked about the hockey rink about making some repairs. I was just wondering if that was done yet. Or Scott, do you know? I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
And football and soccer and baseball have started their seasons. We had a pretty successful weekend this weekend, and as of right now, there was no issues that I know of. So we'll hopefully continue that way going forward. We're continuing to ask the parents to social distance, wear a mask when they can't, and to take their children and leave the facility once their child is done playing to help minimize any overlap. And they have set the games about a half an hour more in between to give people a chance to leave before the next group comes in. So we'll keep you posted on that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Barr.
Well, the residents are very happy about what's going on Corson Tavern Road. They can't wait for that finish coat to be put down. Paul, do we have anything as far as New Bridge? What's going on there?
I don't. Last I checked, they were still waiting for, I think, 2 more easements before they could start the work. But the county engineer had told me that if he didn't get them in short order, that he felt that, he was going to talk to county council and see if they can at least get the project out to bid and moving along. I'll give the county engineer to get a more current update, but that was the last when I talked to him about a month ago.
All right. How about Beasley's Point, the project down there? What's the progress report on that?
If you recall, we had to go out and do, DP requested us to do an archaeological study. That came out fairly good. fortunate for us, and the consultant to submit the documentation, I believe, on Friday back up to the DEP for their review. Hopefully, once they get that and they concur with that, the 90-day review window will start.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paul. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay. Committeeman Corson.
At this time, I don't have anything other than to echo Scott's praise to the Public Works Department with the brush cleanup. It's phenomenal the amount of material they've moved in the last month, and it's hopefully we don't have to do that again this year. But second wave will start picking up, and township looks a lot better already. That's all I have.
Okay, I just have two updates. One, in case anyone hasn't seen it, the committee approved putting a banner outside thanking essential workers for the COVID-19, the way they've handled it. Obviously, it's been a long process. I think we've reached almost if we haven't already, the 6-month mark. It continues to be, something that is being, attended to, and people are still being cared for. And as we kind of get into the new phase, hopefully at some point when a vaccination becomes available, HHS on the federal level has approved pharmacists and pharmacist interns to give the immunizations out. So, and that's nationally. So it should be, when it becomes available, it will be easy access for patients to be able to go in and get that vaccination. So, I always talk about the story when I was a young boy going to the North Wildwood Fire Hall for my polio little cups, sugar cubes that we ate. And I think it was, 3 times or whatever it was. The vaccinations look like it's going to take 2 vaccinations for it to work. That's the early reports. It's basically saying that someone will get the vaccination initially and then probably have to return within a 60-day period to get it done to be effective. So obviously, with 350 million people or whatever is in the United States, depending on how many decide to go forward with it, there'll be a mass opportunity to vaccinate, with just an ungodly amount of people. So, and it's 2 times. So you're really talking 700 million if you double it. Access is going to be of the greatest importance. So as I hear more from the federal level and nationally, I'll make sure I keep everybody in the loop on that. The other thing I just want to say that we officially have now stopped having lifeguards patrol the beaches. Sunday was the last day. So going forward, I would ask swimmers to be cognizant of when they have risk for rip currents and those kind of things, that you're very cognizant of that, and be very careful and mindful that the ocean, although it's still pretty warm, if 75 degrees, can still pose a problem if you're out there swimming and you're not accustomed to being involved with rip currents or anything like that, or undertows. So just remind everybody that no longer will the beaches be patrolled or covered going forward. So that's all I have. So Barbara, would you take over and start doing the resolutions, please?
Sure. Item number 1, commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Aaron Whitcamp Caldwell Post 239 of the American Legion in Tuckahoe, New Jersey.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, honoring the memory of our colleague and friend Thaddeus Ted Klepak.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And I would at least like to acknowledge Ted's contributions, as our PR person many years ago. And he also certainly played a role on our zoning board for many years. So we thank him for all his good work, and I hope that his life is better in a heavenly place at this point. So it's nice to be able to honor someone that has put so much into the township and Ocean City as a teacher as well. So.
Mr. Barr,
And the coach. Yes.
And the coach, you're right. Thank you.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, honoring ShopRite Partners in Caring and the Marmora ShopRite Associates for their fight against hunger.
Move the resolution.
Second.
They'll have their National Bag for Hunger Day will be on Friday, this Friday, the 18th. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And if-
All in favor.
And if anybody wants their groceries bagged by Rich and I, we will be there Friday from 9 to 10.
I'm not sure they want us to bag, but we'll do the best job we can.
Eggs go in the bottom under canned goods.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll last long doing that. No, seriously, it is a good cause, and we're looking forward to putting some time in with that. So.
Very good. Item number 4, in recognition and appreciation of William Bill Stahl on the occasion of his retirement from the Township of Upper.
Move the resolution.
One of our lifeguards.
So I'll second it, and I just want to acknowledge that Bill Stahl was a 51-year lifeguard, 21 years in Upper and 30 years in Ocean City. So he certainly has spent many a summer on the beach protecting it, and his knowledge and expertise really has gone a long way over the past 21 years in our township in preparing our younger rookie lifeguards to do a good job moving forward and protecting the beaches. So Bill Stahl will be missed. He's a good guy, and I hope he enjoys his retirement.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5.
Before we move to item number 5, I'm sorry to interrupt, Barbara.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the Township Committee to go into closed session on this item with respect to the recommendation to the Planning Board to review a potential redevelopment condemnation zone. It would be for potential litigation. And the discussion would be made public after any potential litigation is resolved and an appeal period has expired. So I'd like a motion to do that so we can discuss this before the committee acts on it.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes. So just so everyone on the call knows, we're leaving this line open. The 5 of us, Dan, we're going to move to our closed session and come back, correct?
Yes, we'll go to the go-to-meeting site for closed session. Paul, can you put a notice that we will return shortly? I don't anticipate it being more than 15, 20 minutes.
We're going to do that right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Paul, can you do that? Paul Dietrich?
You're on mute.
His mic's off.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, Dan.
Okay. All right. So we'll move to the closed session site. Okay.
Right.
Okay, back.
I'm back.
Barbara, you should probably we should do a motion to go back into open session.
Yes.
Is everyone on, all the township committee?
Yes.
My camera's not working again.
Right, but we can hear you. So a motion
you
to
can hear me.
I'll make a motion to go back in open session.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is
And
carried.
I
with all in
just,
favor.
I would like to thank the public for their patience, but advice of counsel, we went into closed session and now we're back. So
So now we'll continue with item number 5 on the agenda. Authorizing the planning board of the Township of Upper to conduct a preliminary investigation to establish a condemnation redevelopment area within the Township of Upper Cape May County.
Move the
Motion to
resolution.
authorize.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. All in favor? Item number 6, authorizing a contract with Tiffany Coviello for professional planning services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
there's a lot of background.
interference.
Everyone mute their line.
Yeah, I have most of the callers muted.
Okay, all right, I'm going to call that again because I couldn't really hear that well. Mr. Barr,
Yeah.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes,
Motion is carried with all in favor. Item number 7, authorizing the mayor to sign the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System Recertification and Annual Progress Report.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor, if you don't mind, if I could just talk about the supplement to this a little bit, if you don't
did
mind.
we finish the roll call?
I thought
No, we're not done yet. Mr.
No,
Young?
we're not. Okay.
we were doing.
I can't hear Mr. Young. Is he
Yes.
speaking? Okay.
He said
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Mayor Palumbo,
Yes.
motion is
All right, go
carried.
ahead, Paul.
Goodness.
Okay. This is a normal annual report that we do, just summarizing what we've doing with the CRF program, which is a community rating system as part of FEMA's flood insurance program. And this year is one of our unique years in that we're recycling and recertifying. So they kind of do an overall review, and we're adding a lot of different activities this year in an attempt to improve our class rating. Currently, we're a class 5 community where the residents receive a 25% discount on their flood insurance rate. And we're very close to having enough certain activities and points to move us to the next level. And I submitted a memo. There are some additional activities that we could gain additional points on. Most of them, and they all require some sort of ordinance action in order to implement them. And some of them are pretty basic and simple. Some require, when you're doing new construction, there's an additional level of doing a grading plan, as well as getting a preliminary elevation certificate to make sure that you're, essentially have the foundation built at the right level, so that, we know that early on in the construction process, the house is going to be conforming. as well as some other things. So I just want to make sure that, and ask the committee, if we could look at some of those ordinances to get those additional points as we try to recertify and get a better class rating in the CRS program.
Some of these items probably require some review because while Paul's correct, they do exist in other municipalities. Others, I think, have been rejected in terms of an ordinance amendment. But in my opinion, it should probably be sent to the planning board for review and further study and recommendation.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. At that point, it probably, we'll see how quickly the planning board can look at it and get it back. But at that point, we probably won't get the credit for the recycling.
When do you need the credits by? When does this need to be done?
November, probably late November. And considering that the planning board is going to be looking at the
I will tell you, the one I'm concerned about is the inspections, because I know a lot of municipalities don't do routine or annual inspections of internal space. It's just the deed restrictions they do. They don't do the one that you're asking for, and I assume it's routine inspections.
Right, and at least if we do the one where we, just on the ones we get the deed restriction that allows the town to inspect it. I mean, I understand that last one is probably the most tricky one because it's a new inspection process that we have to look at doing. So even if it's just everything but that one,
Paul, this is why I thought it needed to be studied. Will we get credit if we did it only on turnover, like title turnover?
Yes.
You can do it just on title.
Correct.
All right. That might not be as big a problem then.
And really that's why I brought this straight to committee, because none of these issues are really, none of them are in the zoning ordinance. They're all in the other ordinances within the code.
Well, it's going to have to go to the planning board at some point because some of this has to deal with land use. So it's arguably under the land use law, you'd have to get a recommendation that's not inconsistent with the master plan, which it probably wouldn't be. But that's one of the dots we have to, one of the I's we have to dot. If the committee wants to, perhaps you could ask Paul and I to review it, produce some ordinances for the planning board consistency report, and then the township could act on them.
Yeah, I think you should review it and, address some of those concerns that you have, Dan, on inspections.
Sense of the committee, same thing. Does anybody disagree?
Nope.
No.
All right, so why don't we do that, Paul? Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
All right, item number 8 on the agenda here, authorizing the award of a contract with Modern Group Ltd. for wireless monitoring service for on-site power generators.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yeah.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, authorizing the mayor to sign a temporary revocable license agreement and agreement to accept dredging sand with 201 Willard Real Estate LLC and Timothy A. Fox.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
I abstained from the discussion, so I'm going to abstain for the vote.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Item number 10, authorizing the assignment of tax sale certificate number 13-00025.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing assignment of tax sale certificate number
00026.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. Item number 12, authorizing the execution of a subcontract with the County of Cape May for the revised state fiscal year 2021 Municipal Alliance Program.
Move the
Motion
resolution.
Approved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. Item number 13, appointing Louis M. Belasco, CTA, to act as tax assessor for matters in which the regular township tax assessor may have a conflict of interest.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 14, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with Quality Asset Recovery LLC for collection services for emergency medical service accounts.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes. I couldn't hear you, Barb. Sorry.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 15, authorizing a contract with Carrie Dickinson for clerical services in the Upper Township Construction Code Office on an as-needed basis.
Move the
Move the
resolution.
resolution.
Mr.
Second.
Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 16, authorizing the chief financial officer to sign renewal agreements with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey for medical and prescription insurance.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 17, authorizing the purchase of certain items in the amount of $40,345.98 from the 2013, 2016, and 2018 capital improvement bond ordinance.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 18, renewal of the alcoholic beverage licenses for the license year 2020. And I would just like to add that all the license applications are in compliance with all state and township regulations. And they have received, everyone has received their tax clearance certificates.
Fantastic.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 19, authorizing member participation in a cooperative pricing system for rock salt with the County of Cape May.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
yes,
Motion is carried. 20, canceling tax on exempt property for Block 566, Lot 54.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 21, canceling tax on exempt property for Block 451, Lot 23.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Canceling and refunding tax on exempt property for Block 675, Lot 9.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 23, appointing members to the Upper Township Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And this is just adding Mark Pancoast as alternate number 4, and the other folks that are already serving on the zoning board will move up, one notch, as per where the rank was on the scale. And we're appointing Mr. Pancoast to fill the vacant spot for Mr. Kingston. I'm sorry, for
Feedback.
Excuse me. Right.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 24, under new business, we have the bid results for the design and build of the post frame buildings project.
On Friday, and there comes a lot more football.
I can speak to this if you would like. On September 1st, we took bids for pole barns that we had wanted to have built and installed at 2 locations in the township. And I'm recommending that the bids all be rejected. They were way over the budget. We had 4 bidders, the lowest bid being just under $215,000 and the highest bid being $314,000. It far exceeds our budget, so I would recommend that we reject the bids. I would also like to entertain the possibility of erecting just one of the pole barns, if we can keep the price under our bid threshold of $44,000. We'd like to explore getting a quote for one of the pole barns this year.
Did we, in our bid specs, did we put concrete in there and all that?
They were additional options. The range in the prices were just for the pole barns themselves, not for the concrete, not for the electric, not for, there was one other option as well. So prices were very high.
I'd like to make a motion to reject the bids.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in
And
favor.
we'll have a resolution on the next meeting to formally reject the bids.
Barb, do you have the spec sheets and all in your office?
Yes, yes, I do.
All right. When I come in tomorrow to do the bills, I'd like to look at them.
I would too.
Not a problem.
Okay, all right, moving on. Item number 23, Cape May County request for a resolution supporting the realignment of the intersection of County Route 631 and County Route 662, Old Tuckahoe Road and Tuckahoe Road.
Well, I
Paul
think
mentioned more.
you
Yeah.
want to, didn't we had a discussion about the crossover and those kind of things, and we got a reply back from the county engineer?
Yes, he asked for two things. One, some more detailed information about why the crosswalk, and then two, realigning how you come out to that intersection if you're coming from Route 9 to kind of bring it out at I'll say a more 90-degree orientation for better sight distance and, to be able to see traffic. So they were able to realign the intersection to make that accommodation. And then the county engineer did send a memo of detailing why he feels that having a crosswalk there is much safer than the condition that exists today. He has about 8 or 9 bullet points of, the safety features of why that marked crosswalk would be safer than having an unmarked intersection there for pedestrians.
Paul, what kind of traffic control devices are going to be there?
They'll have they'll have those advanced flashing beacons that, if the pedestrian presses a button, the light, so that the motorist will know that there's a pedestrian entering the crosswalk. That's kind of been the standard design of what they've been doing now when you have, I'll say, a crosswalk at an unsignalized area, but I'll say at a higher traffic volume or an area that maybe you might not anticipate a pedestrian crossing. But they're becoming more the standard of how the traffic engineers design for pedestrian crossing.
So this is kind of like what we've been asking for up in Tuckahoe.
Yeah.
The state. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is very similar to what Ocean City has across from the TD Bank.
No, that's
a bike crossover
function, but it's much different. That's considered called a hawk light, and that's much more visible. What you're going to see is, if you've ever, and I just know this just because some of my children went to Rowan, but up at Rowan along 322 through Rowan, they have at 2 or 3 locations where there's a lot of pedestrian crossings. The pedestrian presses a button, and then it's a more of a 5-sided sign. Maybe that has lights all around it that flashes and just gives that pedestrian crossing. Yellow and black kind of a sign flashes and alerts somebody that they're crossing, as well as they'll have advanced signs saying, stop for pedestrians and crosswalk that you normally would see.
What's the speed limit in the area?
I think I believe 35. I know and it might be transitioning right at that intersection. I know as you move from Tuckahoe Road at that intersection, as you go up toward Roosevelt Boulevard and around that corner, it's 35. I believe, I'll say on Tuckahoe Road down by Elmwood Avenue, I believe it's 45. So in somewhere in that area, and I don't know the exact spot, it does transition from to a 35, but I believe it's 35 to that intersection.
Yeah, because that's the only concern I really have is the height, is the speed. I thought it was about 40 in that area, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and you may be, but that's the importance of having a marked crosswalk, having the flashing signs, and the additional signs is to make motorists alert that there's a potential for a pedestrian crossing in there. And that's the other, I think, design feature that the county engineer is looking at is, to try to slow traffic down a little bit by putting a road feature in there that's, instinctively you might tend to slow down as you're driving if you feel that there could be a pedestrian in that area. So you're going to tend to maybe take 2 or 3 miles an hour off your speed for those residents in that area.
Paul, so this one doesn't automatically stop the traffic with a stop sign?
No, they're relying on, the motorist following state law. If there's a pedestrian in a crosswalk, you need to stop. So it's not like the Hawk light on Route 9, on 9th Street in the city, where that's a Hawk light that stops traffic by turning red, which I don't think that would be,
I thought that's what we were looking at.
yeah, that's not appropriate for that location.
I'm really concerned it becomes more of a caution issue. And, I myself, I would much rather have a Hawk light up there that's going to stop the traffic.
Well, I don't think it has the volume. There's not the volume of pedestrians to warrant a Hawk light, to be honest.
All right.
Also, it's not, if you think about 9th Street, you're crossing four lanes and plus a center turn lane. You're crossing 5 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it as a safety issue. It's horrible already with pedestrians walking through stop signs because they have the right of way, and cars are passing each other. I just don't see it being a very safe issue or situation. And with the stop sign, you definitely have it. And I'd rather be cautious than have to beg for forgiveness when somebody gets hit in that intersection.
This is your recommendation from the county road, and this is the recommendation from the county engineer.
Okay.
They're looking for your support on it.
I think it's minimum, but
Well, if there's a consensus on the committee that you'd like to at least pursue the opportunity for a Hawk light rather than support it as presented, we certainly can do that as well.
I mean, our normal outlook on things is we proceed with as much caution and safety as we can. And, again, I just think that the Hawk light in Ocean City stops the traffic in its place. And it minimizes anything with a kid on a bike or anybody walking into it that gets caught in the middle of the street. So that's just my own opinion.
See, I agree with Hobie. That's my concern is the speed in that area to, just to put a signal in there to say that somebody's going to cross over with anything more substantial. It's.
And we all know I've been limit anyway.
I've been through Rowan up there on 322. It's the speed's not high. The speed's 25 miles an hour through there, 30 at the most.
Yeah. And we have a problem on all of our streets where they're not following the speed limit anyway. We don't have the police presence to enforce it. So I think we need to err on the side of safety.
And also look into dropping the speed limit in that area.
The other thing is we have in the summertime, we have a lot of unfamiliar with the area drivers too. So I think the more safety stuff you could put, the better.
That would just be my recommendation, but that's
so. Does someone want to make a motion that we send a letter to the county at this point suggesting that they highly look at providing a Hawk light or whatever it's called versus what the plans are at this point?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay.
I think the motion should not say we recommend it. The only way we'll endorse or support this project if you put a Hawk light there.
Okay, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Correct.
I agree. I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Harry?
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are a number of reports from our municipal departments: Animal Control, Clerk's Office, Construction Code, Division of EMS, Finance Office, MUA, and Tax Collector. All of these reports will be available upon request at the Township Clerk's Office. But at this point, I'll make a motion to accept the reports.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Gleason,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, so we have reached the public comment portion of the meeting. I would ask, to whoever, would like to start, acknowledge your name, your address, and your reason for addressing the Township Committee.
I would like to point out, I don't know if it's the administrator on the go-to-meeting call, but a number of callers are muted. So if someone tries to speak, we should make sure they're unmuted.
They're all listed as unmuted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, who would like to start?
My name is Lisa Carr, 33 East Webster Road in Stratford.
Okay.
I have a question and then I guess two questions. First, could someone explain what a condemnation redevelopment area within the township would be?
Sure. I'm going to call on Jim Maloney, who is our expert in this. To tell you what area we're looking at is where the BL England plant currently exists, Beasley's Point.
Not too much in the area, although I understand that. I'm asking for what exactly that is. What does that mean?
Okay.
Perhaps Jim Malley, our constant
Sure.
redevelopment council, could answer the question and explain generally what the process is.
Sure. This is Jim Malley. As the mayor stated, the resolution only deals with the former BL England plant area. That's the only area that's under study. What this resolution does is ask the planning board to complete a study and to hold a public hearing on whether or not that site meets the statutory criteria to be declared what's known as an area in need of redevelopment. And what that is an area that is basically is blighted, is in serious deterioration, has severe environmental restraints, has other aspects of it that would make the property difficult to develop. And the redevelopment laws, if it satisfies that designation, then the governing body would designate it, and it would give the governing body additional powers to assist a developer in redeveloping that area. This one would include the power of, and when I say that, it includes ability to have great flexibility in zoning. There's an ability to give financial incentives. There's an ability to enter into agreements to provide all kinds of additional assistance to a project. This one would be a condemnation area, so that it would give the authority to the township, an authority that it chooses when and if it ever would use it, but it does give it the authority that it could acquire property within that redevelopment area, which is basically the former BL England site. Okay?
I think that answers specifically BL England. I'm just trying to get my head around the term condemnation redevelopment area. Is that a technical legal term in the state?
It's a term under New Jersey state redevelopment law. That's all. And it's intended to give notice to the property owners within an area that's about to be studied that the power of condemnation would come with that designation.
Okay, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Right.
My second question is for the mayor. As I mentioned, I'm a homeowner in Stratford, and earlier this summer, I believe in July or August, when we were as a community talking about the fact that there's a sense of lawlessness in the town of Stratford, overcrowding and parking issues. You, Mr. Mayor, had talked about having a village meeting. Of course, we're constrained by COVID and you have been unable to do that, which I understand, but I'd like to know where your thoughts are in terms of when you might be able to do this and how we would go about doing that. My concern would be that as we come out of the summer, it gets less busy and then there's less focus on this, but then it will arise again next spring and still be an issue. So I was hoping you could let me know your thoughts on that matter and where you and the Township Committee might be going here.
Well, the Township Committee is already pursuing an opportunity to, we have a discussion later on in our closed session about whether or not we want to partner with someone that has expertise in parking situations. It hasn't been forgotten. In fact, they did offer to have the meeting at the beach to try and make it open because at the time there was no allowance for any indoor meetings at that point. Very, very low. It would be 25% capacity. So we could have only maybe had 10 people there or, you know, whatever, if we had it where we normally have it at the fire hall. And I felt that a Zoom call would be very difficult with lots of questions. It's really hard to, you know, try and coordinate and facilitate a Zoom call when you don't know who's going to be talking next and everything else. So that's why I really had planned to try and have an open meeting out on the beach. But you know, in fairness, there was discussion that some of the folks may have had trouble getting to the beach. And the only reason why I suggested the beach is it was the biggest wide open area to possibly do it, to facilitate a number of folks to do it. So we have not in any way stopped our discussion amongst us on looking at the parking and addressing some issues, including potentially beach tags and those kind of things. So I'm not at this point certain exactly when we're going to get to that point, but it's certainly a high priority for the fall, and you know, we'll certainly keep the residents up to date as to where we're going with this. I mean, at this point, it's really hard to schedule a meeting. We have these meetings because we can't even have enough people in the township hall to facilitate a meeting. So right now, I'm seeing there's 28 people on this call. We couldn't have 28 people in the township hall right now to have a meeting, let alone other folks that really want to contribute. So that's where our hands are a little tied as to the meeting. It's not that I'm procrastinating on it. I just can't find a way to be able to do it.
I understand that, and I had forgotten, I think you did mention in a previous meeting about the fact that people might not be able to get to the beach. It might be hard for some people to physically access the beach, so I respect that. Is there any chance before it gets too cold, we might be able to do something, say, outside the firehouse? And, you know, there's this big lot across the street where sometimes they park fire vehicles and do other things over there. Would that be enough space? Could you consider something like that? Well, like if we still have to, well, we're still constrained by COVID and we need to do something outside to accommodate more than 10 or 15 people.
I'm willing to do anything I can to help the process, but again, you know, it's to facilitate a large group and keep the social distancing. Unfortunately, the only areas that would really make sense to do it is in some of our fields over on the mainland. Other than the beach, there really isn't an area that could, you know, if you have 50 people and they're 6 feet apart, we need a substantial amount of area to cover to do it. And I'm not trying to make excuses. I don't mind doing it. It's just that finding something that, you know, puts us in compliance with the CDC regulations at this point or guidance, you know, makes it more difficult to do. So, you know, if we can figure something out, I'm willing to talk to anybody, try and figure it out. But at this point, you know, I don't want to put anybody at risk, including myself. And so, we need to make sure that we have an open space that could handle, and those meetings typically have at least 60 people, if not more, the meetings that we've had in the past there. So, that's something that, has to be considered as we plan this going forward.
Okay, thank you. That popped in my head outside the firehouse, but I can see where that might still not provide it. And I also think that, well, I would certainly be willing to go to the mainland, to some of your big fields. I don't know if everybody would, so I appreciate your caution here. But you just keep this in your mind, and when you think it's possible that we can still go forward with something here.
That sounds like a plan, and that's what we'll do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're on mute. There we go.
I was just waiting to permission to speak. Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the committee. I just want to briefly.
Wait a minute, Mark, we need your address, please.
I'm
your
sorry.
name.
My name
I
is
can
Mark.
read it, but just to be, yeah.
Great. Appreciate it. My name is Mark Berger, and my address is 2 West Winthrop in Strathmere. And I have a very specific question about the Deauville Marina remodeling project. I know you're aware of the project and that the ownership of the Deauville has submitted a permit application to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to do 2 things. One, to dredge, and that was the subject of a resolution this evening, but also to expand the marina. The marina is currently licensed for a maximum of 30 slips, and the request to the DEP is to expand to 70 slips, 39 for jet skis and 31 for boats. So my question is this: what power or authority does the township have in evaluating these requests? What's the process from the township's perspective of evaluating this? Or does it lie totally with the DEP and the township has no role to play? So my question is about process and authority. Mayor, if you could address those for me, I'd appreciate it.
If I may, Mayor, may I respond?
Sure. Thank you, Dan.
This is Dan Young. Generally speaking, anything waterward of the bulkhead, the permitting application process, public input, objections, all of that is should be directed at the DEP. We don't require nor do we issue permits for reconfiguration of docks and slips.
Understood. So in follow-up to that, if the decision impacts Strathmere in terms of parking, the need for parking, the need for emergency response for policing, that would result from a significant increase in the water volume and beach activity, would the township feel a need to weigh in on that and possibly comment to the DEP?
I guess if there was a significant concern, anyone can comment in this, as well as the township.
Yeah. And Paul, can I call on you? I think that you had said to me, because Mark, I know that you had sent me an email, and I didn't respond because I wanted to see where we were with it. I wasn't familiar with the site plan or whatever. And Paul, did you get something from the DEP saying that they were operating, the expansion was only going to be within their already existing allowance?
Yeah, I mean, when anybody puts docks out beyond the bulkhead, they do it within a Thailand's license area, and that's kind of the area that they lease, or sometimes it's a grant, but I think in this case it's a lease area, and they lease that certain portions of it from the DEP and the state to rent the space in the water, because all that is really owned by the state. And they're just reconfiguring their docks in the same area. So yes, I agree, they're probably reconfiguring it to increase their number of jet ski. But that's it's all within their purview, and it's nothing that we've ever we've traditionally not made comments or gotten involved with private development on the bulkheads.
But
Dan, they wouldn't be,
we are concerned about traffic. We are concerned about parking, and we are concerned about safety. So that's something that, Mark, that we'll have to evaluate. And, I'm hoping that, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some idea of what path we're going to take with the parking, including the residents, so that, people are involved. That's something that we certainly can look at.
Paul,
Traditionally,
excuse me, one question, Paul, do we get notified by the DEP when somebody makes an application that could possibly have expansion on what they have right now?
Yeah, they're required, they submit copies to the clerk's office, the planning board, and I think a copy goes to the construction officials to have in their file.
Okay.
Dan,
Now,
Dan, what they're proposing creates a need for additional parking. We have a requirement per slip. Would they have to come back to the board for that?
If that's in the ordinance, but I don't know if it's in the ordinance.
traditionally, I've seen over the years where these bayfront homes and properties get developed, and traditionally I've seen applicants go to the state, and if they've had 5 boat slips, they usually wind up leaving with 3 or 4. They've actually lost, Strathmere wide, we have lost a lot of boat slips on the waterway. Whether they were legal to start with or not, I don't know. But traditionally, DEP did not give the applicant what they're looking for.
And there is a comment period and an objection period for all that. Correct, Paul?
Yes, there is.
So can we make sure that we post the comment period for folks that have concern and would like to put in a response?
I don't know if we received the notice. You'd have to talk, Paul would have to check with the clerk's office. That could obviously be posted on our website, directing people where to send comments.
That notice actually was just received today. So that's been.
There you go.
I was trying to, okay. That notice was just received today, so there is a letter that was just received, and that will be, posted in the committee's mail packet. I can work with Paul to, we can get that up there.
I can tell you, I live within 200 feet of the Deauville, and I received the certified notice. And on the notice, it lists all the recipients, which includes 4 of the township offices, the county, and the names of the people who live within 200 feet. And the notice provides the address where comments can be sent, and it also sets out a time frame of 45 days from receipt of notice to provide those comments. I just want to return to one aspect of this. I am concerned about the parking, at least on summer weekends. The rest of the time, it's not busy. On summer weekends, the Deauville parking lot is full. They currently are licensed for 30 slips, probably 10 are operational because of sand that's filled in. They're going to go from 10 operational to 70. And the way this works, since I live and see it from my windows, is people come up on jet skis, and there are other people who are waiting on the beach. They've driven their cars, they've parked here for their turn on the jet skis. It creates safety issues because of the confined spaces, but also parking issues. There's a lot of turnover in these slips in any given day. So if you have 70 slips, there can be hundreds of people who cycle in and out of those slips with their jet skis and boats, and they're greeted by friends and family who have driven here on the beach. It's something to be aware of because there's no parking as it is, and this will greatly impact parking on our streets. Just want the committee to be aware.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the Township Committee?
Yes, this is David Cummings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
David Cummings, 1808 Commonwealth Avenue in Whale Beach in Strathmere. I have a couple of comments or questions. Number one, about parking on Commonwealth. This committee has heard my comments earlier this summer about parking, and I want to thank you all for supporting improving the parking, particularly on the bay side. I guess one question I had, there had been a committee resolution to approve towing on Commonwealth Avenue between the trailer park down to down to the end of Whale Beach, and there have been signs posted now that it's not a towaway zone. But I guess I was curious to know, what are the arrangements for actual towing, since this is a county road?
The county has recently informed us that they're not going to be involved in any towing. The state police generally, unless there's an accident, won't be involved. However, the township can and is exploring parking enforcement generally in the Strathmere Whale Beach area, and that will be part of the study that we're going to be doing probably this fall. Not probably, that we are doing this fall, and we're looking at various options to arrange for that type of towing and enforcement.
Did I understand earlier that there will be a third-party consultant doing a parking analysis?
That hasn't been determined yet. It's in the discussion.
I would like to certainly suggest that if that is the avenue approach, that the residents of the township should be consulted as part of that analysis by the third party. I guess the other question I had is if it's parking on Strathmere roads that are not subject to county roads, is there a towaway policy that's in place for that, roads like Neptune and other roads?
The township does not have a towing ordinance because everything prior to this was handled by the state police. That would have to be introduced as part of the global approach to parking enforcement and other issues in Strathmere that we hope to have accomplished in the off season.
Okay, well, I guess more discussions on this. I think one last point about parking, the state police enforcement of parking on Commonwealth is still a bit spotty. Sometimes we see tickets issued, sometimes we see them drive by multiple times. I know you all have pointed us to the state police when that is the fact, but I just want to make sure you're aware that the enforcement is still an issue. The other comment or question I have is around the planning board nomination. I think everybody knows that Strathmere is a significant contributor to taxes in the township. And tonight I heard that there is a candidate that's been assigned to the planning board.
Zoning board.
Zoning board. I'm sorry. Excuse me. My mistake. Planning. Zoning board. I guess I would like to know a little bit more about how we identify those candidates, how they're nominated, what are their qualifications, how do you actually, make sure that they're representing the community in total. I think, as I understand it, Strathmere has one alternative person on that organization, but we're a significant contributor. And I also would like to know who makes the final decision to nominate them before it comes in front of this committee.
First of all, for both zoning and planning, all those that are interested fill out an application at the township hall. They are then presented to the township committee for screening, and then recommendations are made as to, who would qualify, well, not necessarily qualify, but certainly somebody that has a background that would be an asset to either zoning or planning. The particular individual that was appointed this evening is a police officer who is certainly aware with traffic conditions and stuff, and he is also involved in the township and a lot of other activities. So we felt that it was somebody that was very qualified, and it doesn't, unlike the planning board where the mayor makes the appointments, the zoning board, the township committee votes on acceptance for that appointment. And for that matter, the planning board, no one is appointed by me without, serious discussion with the other committeemen. So.
Can you tell me how many applicants you had for this cycle?
I think it was 5.
Yes, there were 5 applicants.
Well, David, any township resident obviously is more than eligible to put in an application. And the problem is there's a lot of people in Strathmere that aren't year-round residents. I mean, we certainly look at the township in a whole when we.
Understood. If somebody doesn't put their name into the hat, then they're not going to get considered in the first place. Understood. Right. So I guess the point is that Strathmere is very concerned about a lot of the building and a lot of the zoning things, and just want to make sure that we have a fair chance at being represented on these important township organizations.
So David, can I tell you that there are 3 appointees, 1 on the zoning board and 2 on the planning board from Strathmere at this point. They have pretty decent representation on our boards. I mean, considering the area and space in the different villages that we have in the township, they do have pretty decent representation.
Well, when the planning group has to have a vote of 5 to 7 and we have only 1 alternative, I don't think that's good representation, to be honest.
No, you're confusing. The planning board has 2 members. Zoning only has 1 member.
I'm sorry, I keep mixing the 2 of them up. I'm talking about zoning.
Okay.
The 1 alternative out of a group of 10 or 11 people is not good representation.
No, there are four alternates on the zoning board. There are 4.
Yeah, but are the 4 from Strathmere?
No.
We try and be fair and allow people throughout the township to apply for positions, not.
I'm just referring to the 1 alternative person from Strathmere that's on the zoning board. That's what I'm referring to. I guess my last question is, somebody made a comment earlier around beach tags, and I know that's gotten a lot of chatter in Strathmere over the last couple of months because of all the bad behavior that's going on. I guess I want to hear a little more about what's the process to make a decision about beach tags or no beach tags, and when will that be made?
Right now, we're still in the research mode. We're talking to other municipalities as to their process and how they enforce it, and what kind of expenditures we should be considering at this point with respect to buying the badges and those kind of things. So I don't know that we're prepared to give you an answer at this point, but it's certainly something that we've had some informal discussions about it. And I can tell you at least that there's research talking to other towns as to what we can expect, and and even to the point where potentially some kind of shared services for enforcement may be considered as well.
Okay.
It's something that I think we need to look at and take very seriously, because the other municipality in this county that is currently a free beach is talking about it also. So the last thing we want to do is be the last free beach.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, that's the issue we have to deal with. I guess the thing that a lot of us are concerned about as residents of Strathmere is you hear these individual concerns. You hear things about building larger buildings. You hear about things about parking. You hear about the Deauville and all these extra boat slips and the influx of people. You hear about the bad behaviors and the crowdedness, and all these things have a synergistic effect. And there's things that are just starting to boil in Strathmere that are, you take them one at a time, they're serious, but you put them all together and it's really not a good situation. Just a comment. Thank you very much.
Okay. Would anyone else like to address the Township Committee?
I would, please.
Sure, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, committee. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you guys.
Hold on, Deborah. We need your name, your full name and your address.
I'm going to give you the whole thing. Deborah Ribble, and I own 10 East Seacliff in Strathmere. And I wanted to do a follow-on to what Mark Berger brought up about the Deauville. He explained a lot of the issues extremely well, and I hope you will take them to heart. There's a couple of other things I wanted to bring up to you as well that I think just should be considered, which in addition to, since we're having such a great increase in the number of slips for jet skis and boats, and there's a lot of people that really are novices. I mean, even I read the submission to the Department of Environmental Protection, and even the Deauville said a lot of these people don't know what they're doing. So they have to have certain kinds of slips that give them enough room to maneuver. So it's a known thing. I think in many respects, we're talking about a quality of life issue here, because as the previous speaker mentioned, it's been a pretty crazy summer here, and a lot of things are really sort of thin, I think, on tolerance levels.
I'm going to speak in a minute. Could you get me a little more wine?
But I'd like to say that what I'd like to say is that with increased jet skis and boats, I mean, these are all 2-stroke engines for the most part. this is a lot more noise, a lot more congestion in the bay and around the natural area. And our natural area actually houses and hosts a lot of nesting terrapins and birds, some which are threatened, some which are endangered. And it's an enormous amount of disturbance that goes on at that area. And I think having the increased volume of jet skis, which are so easily portable and always go directly to the natural area, it's changed the whole face and tenor of that area, both for people and I think for the wildlife that use it. So I just wanted you to consider this as well, because I think we have to ask ourselves, do we really need to have an additional 35 or 40 slips when really one of the things that's really important about Strathmere is really its charm and the fact that, you know, the Deauville is a wonderful place. They service a lot of people and they're very successful, but we do want to be able to keep quality of life in Strathmere. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, this is Janice Connell, 1808 Commonwealth Avenue. I just wanted to ask a question about Tiffany Cuevelo's contract that was just approved. What kind of work is she going to be continuing to do for the township?
She was hired to help the planning board with the study with respect to redevelopment. She's a planner.
Yes, I know that she's a planner, and I have had the pleasure to work with her on the building ordinance. But I just don't understand what her role is going forward with this redevelopment.
She will work with the planning board, do the study, and they'll issue a report.
And she's studying redevelopment throughout the township. Could you just be a little?
No, just the BL England site at this point. That's all it is.
So, okay, that answers my question. I was sort of hoping that perhaps, you know, a lot of the discussion around the lack of true infrastructure in Strathmere and Well Beach to support a lot of this development and influx of various things, the, you know, development of the marina, et cetera, you might also have an opportunity to work on some of those concerns.
That's not what the contract was for.
Would there be a possibility to have her do some of that work?
She just assisted the planning board in re-examining the master plan. So most of that would have and should have probably been addressed last year in the master plan re-examination.
Okay, so I understand the basic focus then would be on the BL England site, and that would be it.
For that contract, that is the only item in that contract.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that clarification.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the Township Committee? I'll give it another minute. If somebody's muted and they don't realize they're muted. Okay, it appears that there are no other public comments this evening. Thank you for your comments and your ability to address the Township Committee in this kind of unusual way on a Zoom call. So we will now close the public portion, and I'll call on Committeeman Coggins to make a motion to go into executive session. John, you're on mute.
John, you're on mute. John, you're on mute.
Thank you. I will start again. I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters are contract negotiation for a parking consultant and personnel, I also include in my motion that the estimated time and the circumstances under which this discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality.
Second.
Let's call the roll. You're on mute, Barbara.
I'm sorry, I thought he was on mute. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is
Thank you
carried.
all for joining this call. Have a great week. And hope all is well. Stay safe. All right, folks, join us in the closed session link.
Okay. Okay, I'm back.
I'm back.
Yeah, we're almost at our time limit. We're almost at 11:30. Shoot, there goes my agenda. Flew off the desk.
Is everybody else back?
Oh. Well, let me look.
Gotta wake up Paul.
Let me see, we got,
I still made it.
yeah, we have to text Paul. You
He's
got
here.
him, Scott?
Are you there, Paul?
I text him. He says he's coming.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
All right. Oh, there
He
he
said
is.
he's there. He's there.
Who's caller 11?
That might be Curtis.
That's me. I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, so we're all here?
well, is Kurt here? Oh, there's 12 too.
I'm here.
Yeah, we have.
All right, so everybody's here.
Is Ed here?
Ed's 11, Curtis is 12.
Got it.
Okay.
I think it's the other way around, but that's okay.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
They're 11 and 12.
all right, so I'll make a motion to come out of executive session to go into open session.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Barr? Mr. Barr? You there? Ed?
Maybe Ed's not 12. Who is caller 12?
I don't know.
So that was Curtis on 11. That's what I said. Curtis,
Yeah, but
Curtis, talk again.
Ed's not here.
It'll show up on the box.
Hello, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
See? Okay, he's 11. I don't
He's
know
11.
who 12 is.
Their microphone's on. Whoever they are. Ed?
We're not going to do any business, so if you want to just close out the meeting without Ed, you can.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, there he
All
is.
right.
There he
I
is.
think
There he is.
there he is.
Here?
We still have 12 though.
We still
It
have
doesn't
12.
matter. It's
whoever
a-
they
Be a
are.
member of the public. That's
All right.
fine.
Okay, we're making a motion, Ed, to go reconvene the public portion of the meeting.
Yes.
So, okay. All right. Let's see. Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting's adjourned. 11:27 p.m.
11:27.
That's almost one of the old records.
It breaks it the other way.
Hey.
Okay.